Hello, my beauties and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel. I am so happy to have you here today. Today, I will be reviewing a book. I have my awesome cup of coffee that my little niece got me because she knows I love reading. And the book that I will be reviewing today, I actually listened to it as an audiobook. I'll put a picture up, but it's called Life is in the Transitions, Mastering Change at Any Age, and it is by Bruce Feiler, and he is the New York best-selling author of Council of Dads. So what made me want to read this book or listen to it on audiobook? My public library in my town has a bunch of books that are on audiobooks on an app, so it's very useful. That's how I do most of my reading. I saw an article by this author that was in Psychology Today. It's a magazine with, you guessed it, a bunch of psychology studies and articles, and I love that magazine. I think they only come out with it every 2 months maybe, or 10 issues, but it is so good. I'm such a dork. I love research and all of that stuff, but he had a really good article in there about transitions, and I could say myself, I'm going through a transition, and so I wanted to read the book. It is 12 sections on audiobook, so it's probably, I think that would be like 13 to 14 hours if you listen to it on audiobook, which is on the longer side. So what he does is he speaks to 225 people across the United States about their life stories, and what he has concluded is that life is not linear. That's kind of the standard. You go through these stages. You grow into adulthood, early adulthood. You get in education, and then you get a job, and then you buy a house or get married and have children and have a midlife crisis and then retire. Actually, he debunks the midlife crisis. It's not a real thing. It was kind of like a marketing scam or someone just trying to get headlines. So there is no really midlife crisis, or some people say, it's going to happen at age 40 to 42. We can go through a big transition or identity crisis or whatever you may call it. It's number one, overhyped, but number two, it could happen between the ages of 30 and 50 if there is like a big transition. But what he talks about in this book is he talks about how there are transitions, and what life is about every 12 to 18 months we have a disruptor. So these are very common, and we'll go through about 36 to 50 of those throughout our lifetime. And a disruptor could be, I think the most common ones are like moving, starting a new job, getting married, going through a financial hardship. It could be an accident or any one of those things. So I think what I got from this book was that we are all going to be hit with life about every 12 to 18 months. Something mostly negative happens. And so you need to be prepared for those and realize that those are very common. Then he says that throughout our life, we have about 3 to 5 earthquakes. And an earthquake is a really, really huge event that rattles our world and makes us go through a transition stage. And an earthquake could be someone passing away, or someone going from female to male, male to female. It could be it's a really huge incident that totally changes your life. And it could also be a series of little transitions back to back to back. So you have your aunt die, and then your mom dies, and then within 7 months your dad dies and you lose your job. That can make you go into one of these. And so at the very end, in the conclusion, he talks about the 5 truths of transitions. And number 1, that transitions are becoming more plentiful. So sorry, my dog is moving my camera. Cody, come here, Cody. He likes to interrupt my YouTube videos, so let's just talk to him about this book too. So they're becoming more plentiful. We have one transition or life disruptor, as he calls them, every 1 to 2 years. And life isn't linear anymore. People change careers more often. People get married or remarried more often. And he says that we'll all go through 3 to 5 earthquakes in our lives. And these earthquakes are what I was talking about, a lot of disruptors all at once, or a huge event that could be most likely negative. And that requires change. And then the second truth of transitions he talks about is just transitions are nonlinear. We can throw out the old pattern of perfect life in stages. The third is that transitions take longer than you think, but not longer than you need. And so I thought that was a really good quote, is they take as long as they need to take, but not longer than you need. So the average earthquake, remember those 2 or 3 to 5 huge life events, they take on average about 5 years to get through. And almost everyone that he spoke to said that a major earthquake took longer than they wanted to. Some people 2 years to as long as 10 years. But the average was 5 years. And he says if we have 3 to 5 of these, then we could spend 25% of our life, which is for most people about 1/3 of their life, in these big transformation or periods. And you have the beginning, and then you have the messy middle, and then you have the new beginning. And those are the 3 stages. And then fourth, he said that all transitions are autobiographic occasions. So telling your life story, or if you were to write your life story, these big earthquakes would be, they could be their own chapters or own, there'd be things that you would remember that if your grandchildren were to ask you for life advice, you would mention. And then the 5th thing he says is transitions are essential to life. So we can't avoid them. Everyone goes through them, whether they talk about them or not. And then he says we need to rebrand our life into a life of transitions, and they are not going away. And the key is to not turn away from them when they're there. So when something unexpected happens or something life-changing, is you should not ignore it and pretend it's not there. So what I would rank this book out of 5, I think I would give it a 2. And here's why. Because I knew that there would be people's stories as like an example. Or, Cody, do you want to join the book club? He wants to join the book club. He's a very smart puppy. I knew there would be a bunch of stories, but I felt like pretty much the whole entire book was people's stories, which, you listen to other people's stories, and that's good because you can emphasize or have, your own learning experience. Like, wow, this man changed his life career at 55. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. Or it's okay to reinvent yourself at 60, or it's okay if you have to reinvent yourself at 30. So that was really nice. And Also, some of the stories I listened to, they had such big life quakes and I would say sad things happen to them that you realize, like, it could be worse. Not that your life quakes or your life disturbances aren't significant, but, there's most likely someone that has it worse than you. But I felt like the entire book was people's stories, and I was expecting. He says that it's kind of divided up into two sections where you hear about other people's stories, and then he gives you the tools to go through your own life transitions. I didn't really feel like it was two sections of the book. I felt like he would say one or two sentences about how to go through your own life transition, and then get back to telling stories from other people. And selfishly, or maybe being misled, I felt that the book was going to be a little more directed towards like what we can do as the reader to go through our life transitions. But I still think it was valuable to read. But if I would have known it was just going to be other people's life stories, I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. And then at some point throughout the book, I just felt sad, to be honest, or things that I have experienced, like people move and then suddenly they have a better life. I know that's not the case. I moved to South Korea and you can't run from your problems. And I'm not saying I moved there just to run from my problems, but I think if you're looking to hear about other stories and get some inspiration from that and know that you're not alone in, shit happens. Like, I think that's the main thing that I got from the book was like every 12 to 18 months, like be prepared, like something's going to happen. Hopefully not, right? But really honing in on no one has a perfect life and we all face hard things and they may look different. Sorry, that's again my dog. They may look different from others, but so if you're kind of in a memoir type mood, I would say this would be a better book for you. I was just kind of hoping to get more out of how to go through my own life transitions. But that is my review. My dog Cody, he says goodbye too. And I hope you all enjoyed this book review. I tried to make it shorter than the last one. But I hope you all have a blessed day. Say bye, Cody. Bye-bye.